Dr. Lisa Grant looked out the window of the medical ship and saw stars everywhere. The ship was called the UES Compassion, and it was the biggest medical ship that Earth had ever built. Lisa was the chief doctor on the ship. She had been working in space for 10 years. But she still loved looking at the stars. The ship was huge and white with big red crosses painted on its sides. Everyone in space knew what those red crosses meant. They meant the ship was carrying doctors and medicine, not weapons. The ship was protected by old space laws that said no one could attack medical ships. Lisa walked through the long hallways of the ship. Everywhere she looked, she saw doctors and nurses getting ready for their mission. They were going to a planet called New Haven. The people there were very sick, with a terrible disease. Many had already died, and more would die if the Compassion did not get there soon. Captain Jake Morrison was on the bridge of the ship. He was a good man who had been flying ships for 20 years. Jake always followed the rules, especially the rules about medical ships. He knew that what they were doing was important. The medicine they carried could save thousands of lives. "Dr. Grant, please come to the bridge," came Jake's voice over the ship's speakers. Lisa walked to the front of the ship where Jake was standing. He was looking at a big screen that showed their path through space. "We're getting close to space," Jake said. "I want to make sure our medical signals are working properly." The Zephyrians were aliens who looked like big lizards. They had been fighting with humans for 2 years now, but medical ships were supposed to be safe from the fighting. That was the law. "All our signals are working," said Lieutenant Ben Parker, who was sitting at the control panel. "Every ship in this area of space knows we are a medical vessel." Lisa nodded. She was not worried about the Zephyrians. She was thinking about her younger brother, Tim. He was also on the ship. Tim had just finished medical school and wanted to help people in space. This was his first mission. Tim was in the medical bay, checking the vaccines they were carrying. The vaccines were very special. Earth's best scientists had worked for months to make them. These vaccines could stop the disease that was killing people on New Haven. "Lisa, come look at this," Tim called to his sister. He was excited about the mission. Tim always got excited when he could help people. "We have enough vaccine for 50,000 people. We're going to save so many lives." Lisa smiled at her brother. She remembered when Tim was little and said he wanted to be a doctor just like her. Now, here he was, flying through space to help sick people. She was proud of him. The Compassion flew through space for 3 more days. They were getting close to New Haven when Lieutenant Parker saw something on his screen. "Captain, I'm seeing ships ahead of us." Jake looked at the screen. 5 Zephyrian warships were flying toward them. The ships were big and dark, with weapons that could destroy planets. But Jake was not worried. Medical ships were protected. "Send them our medical identification," Jake told Parker. "Let them know we are carrying medicine to sick people." Parker sent the message. The Zephyrian ships got closer. Then a voice came over the radio. It was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "Human medical ship, you will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded." Jake was confused. "This is Captain Morrison of the UES Compassion. We are a medical vessel carrying vaccines to New Haven Colony. Under galactic law, you cannot board a medical ship." The alien voice came back. "Humans spread disease wherever they go. You are disease carriers. We will not let you pass." Lisa came to the bridge when she heard the Zephyrian voice. "What's happening?" she asked. "They want to board us," Jake said. "But they can't. We're a medical ship." On the lead Zephyrian ship, Admiral Kethver was looking at the human medical vessel. Kethver was old for a Zephyrian, with dark green scales and yellow eyes. He had been fighting wars for 40 years. He hated humans more than anything else in the universe. "Admiral, the human ship is protected by medical laws," said one of his officers. Kethver made a sound like a growl. "Laws made by humans and their friends," Humans are a disease that spreads to every world they touch. Today we stopped this disease ship. Back on the Compassion, Jake was trying to talk to the Zephyrians. We are not carrying weapons. We are carrying medicine to save lives. Please, let us pass. But Admiral Kethfer had already made his choice. All ships, target the human vessel. Fire all weapons. The Zephyrian ships opened fire. Bright energy beams hit the Compassion from all sides. The medical ship had no shields, no weapons, no way to fight back. It was never meant to fight. It was meant to heal. Alarms rang throughout the ship. Lisa ran toward the medical bay to find Tim. The ship shook as more weapons hit it. Lights went out. People were screaming. Jake tried to send a message to Earth, but the communication systems were damaged. This is the EU's Compassion. We are under attack by Zephyrian forces. We are a medical vessel. They are firing on a medical ship. Tim was trapped in the medical bay when the walls started to break apart. He thought about all the people on New Haven who would die without the vaccine. He thought about his sister Lisa. The last thing he saw was the vaccines floating in space as the ship broke apart. The Compassion exploded in a ball of fire and light. All 300 doctors and nurses died in seconds. The vaccines that could have saved 50,000 lives burned up in space. Admiral Kethfer watched the human ship die. Good, he said. One less source of human disease. But Admiral Kethfer did not know that his attack would change everything. On Earth, people would learn that the Zephyrians had destroyed a medical ship. They had killed doctors and nurses who were trying to save lives. And one man on Earth would be so angry that he would do terrible things to get revenge. Things that would make the Zephyrians wish they had never heard of humans. Dr. Marcus Kane was working in his laboratory when the message came. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. Marcus had been Earth's best weapons scientist before he quit 5 years ago. Now he worked alone, making medicine instead of weapons. The message was from General Amy Phillips. Marcus read it 3 times before he believed it. The EU's Compassion had been destroyed. All 300 people on board were dead. Lisa Grant was dead. Marcus sat down hard in his chair. Lisa had been his best student when she was in medical school. She was also his closest friend. Lisa was the one who made him quit making weapons. She said he was too smart to spend his life creating things that killed people. You should use your brain to save lives, not take them, Lisa had told him. Those words changed Marcus forever. He stopped making weapons and started helping Lisa with her medical research. Now Lisa was gone. Killed by aliens who did not care about medical laws or human lives. Marcus walked to his window and looked out at the city. People were walking on the streets below. They did not know yet that their best doctors were dead. They did not know that aliens had attacked a ship full of people who only wanted to help others. His phone rang. It was General Phillips. Marcus, I'm sorry about Lisa, the general said. I know you two were close. What are you going to do about it? Marcus asked. His voice was quiet, but there was something dangerous in it. We're sending a message to the Zephyrian government. We're demanding an explanation. Marcus laughed, but it was not a happy sound. A message? They killed 300 doctors, and you want to send them a message? Marcus, I know you're angry. We all are. But we have to follow proper procedures. Proper procedures, Marcus said slowly. Like the proper procedures that were supposed to protect medical ships. General Phillips was quiet for a moment. What are you saying, Marcus? I'm saying that maybe it's time to stop following procedures. Maybe it's time to show these aliens what happens when they kill our people. Marcus, you quit weapons research 5 years ago. You said you would never make another weapon. That was before they killed Lisa. Marcus's voice was getting harder. That was before they proved that being nice and following rules doesn't work. General Phillips had worked with Marcus for 10 years. She knew how smart he was. She also knew how dangerous he could be when he was angry. The weapons Marcus had made before, were so terrible that Earth's government had locked them away and promised never to use them. What are you thinking, Marcus? I'm thinking that the Zephyrians need to learn what happens when they mess with Earth's people. I'm thinking that maybe it's time to show them what a real monster looks like. Marcus, the weapons you made before were too dangerous. We agreed never to use them. I'm not talking about the old weapons. I'm talking about new ones, better ones. Ones that will make the Zephyrians wish they had never heard of humans. General Phillips felt a chill run down her back. She remembered the reports about Marcus's old weapons. They were things that gave people nightmares. But she also remembered that 300 good people were dead. What would you need? She asked. Everything. Money, equipment, smart people to help me, and no rules. No committees telling me what I can and cannot do. No one looking over my shoulder asking if what I'm making is too dangerous. Marcus, that's a lot to ask. It's a lot less than what Lisa gave. She gave her life trying to help people. All I'm asking for is the chance to make sure her death means something. General Phillips thought about it for a long time. She thought about Lisa Grant and all the other doctors who had died. She thought about the Zephyrians who had broken every law about medical ships. She thought about the thousands of people on New Haven who would die without the vaccines that were now floating in space. Okay, she said finally. You'll have everything you need. But Marcus, I want you to understand something. Once we start down this path, there's no going back. If you make weapons like this, we'll have to use them. Good, Marcus said. I want to use them. 3 days later, Marcus was standing in an empty laboratory deep under the mountains of Colorado. The place was huge, with enough room for 100 scientists. General Phillips had given him everything he asked for. Marcus was not alone. He had called 3 other scientists to help him. They were people like him, very smart and willing to do things that others would not do. Dr. Alex Chen had once made diseases that could kill specific types of people. The government had made him stop, but he never forgot how to do it. Dr. Maria Santos was an expert on tiny robots, called nanobots. She could make robots so small that thousands of them could fit on the tip of a needle. Dr. Kevin Walsh knew everything about artificial intelligence. He could make computer programs that were smarter than most people. Welcome to Project Nightfall, Marcus told them. We're going to make weapons that will end this war. What kind of weapons? Asked Alex. Marcus smiled, but his smile was cold and scary. The kind that will make our enemies afraid to sleep at night. The kind that will make them wish they had never been born. Maria looked around the empty laboratory. How long do we have? As long as we need. But I don't want to take too long. Every day we wait, more of our people might die. Kevin sat down at one of the computer terminals. What's the plan? Marcus walked to a big whiteboard and started drawing. The Zephyrians think they can kill our doctors and nothing will happen. They think humans are weak because we care about rules and laws. They're about to learn how wrong they are. He drew pictures of Zephyrian ships and soldiers. We're going to create weapons that target them specifically. Weapons that will only hurt Zephyrians and leave everyone else alone. That's not easy to do, said Alex. I know. That's why I need all of you. Alex, I want you to study Zephyrian biology. Find out what makes them different from other species. Find their weaknesses. Alex nodded. He was already thinking about diseases that could attack Zephyrian scales and organs. Maria, I want you to design nanobots that can get inside Zephyrian ships and equipment. Robots that can take apart their weapons and life support systems. Maria smiled. She loved making tiny machines that could do impossible things. Kevin, I want you to create an artificial intelligence that can control thousands of attack drones at once. An AI that learns from every battle and gets smarter each time. Kevin cracked his knuckles. How smart do you want this AI to be? Smarter than this. Smart enough to predict what they'll do before they do it. The 4 scientists worked for 18 hours a day. They barely slept. They barely ate. All they could think about was making weapons that would make the Zephyrians pay for what they had done. Marcus thought about Lisa every day. He remembered her smile. He remembered how excited she got when she helped sick people. He remembered her telling him to use his brain to save lives instead of taking them. But now, Marcus thought, the only way to save human lives was to take Zephyrian ones. The only way to protect future medical ships was to make sure the aliens were too scared to attack them. Late at night, when the others had gone to sleep, Marcus would stand in front of a picture of Lisa that he had put on his desk. "I'm sorry," he would whisper to the picture. "I know this isn't what you wanted, but they have to pay for what they did to you." The work was hard and dangerous. They were creating things that had never existed before, things that could change the nature of war itself. But Marcus did not care about the danger. All he cared about was revenge. After 2 months, they had their first weapon ready to test. It was time to show the Zephyrians what Earth's darkest genius could do. Captain Steve Rogers had seen many battles, but he had never seen anything like what Dr. Marcus Kane was showing him. Steve was a good soldier who had fought the Zephyrians for 2 years. He thought he knew everything about weapons and war. He was wrong. "This is what we call the Gray Death," Marcus said, holding up a small metal container. "Inside this container are millions of nanobots. They're so small you can't see them without a special microscope." Steve looked at the container. It was no bigger than a pill bottle. "What do these nanobots do?" Marcus's eyes got darker. "They find Zephyrian DNA and attack it. Once they get inside a Zephyrian's body, they start changing things. They turn the alien's own body against itself." Dr. Alex Chen stepped forward. He was holding another container. "This one is even better. It's a disease that only affects Zephyrians. It gets into their breathing systems and spreads through their whole ship." "How fast does it work?" Steve asked. "Fast enough," said Dr. Maria Santos. "The nanobots can kill a Zephyrian in about 6 hours. The disease takes a little longer, maybe 12 hours. Steve felt sick to his stomach. 6 hours? That's a long time to die. Marcus nodded. "Yes, it is. I want them to have time to think about what they did to our medical ship. I want them to have time to be afraid." Dr. Kevin Walsh was sitting at a computer, working on his artificial intelligence program. "The AI is almost ready too," he said. "It can control 1,000 attack drones at once. Each drone learns from the others. If one drone finds a weakness in a Zephyrian ship, all the other drones know about it instantly." Steve had volunteered to test these new weapons, but now he was not sure. "Dr. Kane, these weapons, they're not just deadly, they're cruel." Marcus turned to look at Steve. "Do you know what's cruel, Captain? Destroying a medical ship full of doctors who were trying to save lives. Do you know what's cruel? Killing 300 people who had no weapons and no way to fight back. I understand you're angry about Dr. Grant and the others. We all are. But this, this is justice," Marcus said firmly. "The Zephyrians think they can kill our people, and nothing will happen. They're about to learn that they were very, very wrong." General Phillips had been watching the demonstration. She looked worried. "Marcus, are you sure these weapons will only affect Zephyrians?" "Completely sure. We've tested them on tissue samples from 12 different alien species. They only affect Zephyrians." "What about humans?" "Humans are completely safe. The nanobots can't even recognize human DNA." Steve took the containers. He had orders to test these weapons on the next Zephyrian ships they found. He did not like the orders, but he would follow them. That's what soldiers did. 2 days later, Steve got his chance. The mining colony on Titan Base was under attack. 5 Zephyrian warships had surrounded the colony and were demanding that all humans leave. The colony had 2,000 people, including many families with children. Steve's ship, the Used Defender, was small and fast. It was not powerful enough to fight 5 Zephyrian warships in a normal battle, but this would not be a normal battle. "Captain Rogers, this is Titan Base," came a voice over the radio. "The Zephyrians are giving us 6 hours to evacuate. If we don't leave, they'll destroy the colony." "Understood, Titan Base. Help is on the way." Steve's crew was nervous. They all knew they were badly outnumbered, but they also knew about the new weapons they were carrying. Lieutenant Emma Foster was Steve's intelligence officer. She was a smart woman who asked a lot of questions. "Captain, are we really going to use these weapons?" "Those are our orders," Steve said. "But sir, I've read the reports about what these weapons do. The nanobots don't just kill, they cause terrible pain. The victims, they change into something horrible before they die." Steve had read the same reports. The nanobots changed Zephyrian DNA in ways that turned the aliens into twisted versions of themselves. Their scales would fall off. Their bones would bend in wrong directions. They would be aware of everything that was happening to them until the very end. "I know what the weapons do, Lieutenant." "Sir, is this what we want to become? Are we really willing to become monsters to win this war?" Steve looked at her for a long time. "Emma, do you remember what happened to the Compassion?" "Yes, sir. Those Zephyrians killed doctors and nurses, people who were trying to help others. If we don't stop them, they'll do it again." The Defender got close to the Zephyrian ships. Steve could see them on his screen. 5 big dark vessels that looked like flying weapons. Each one was 3 times bigger than his ship. "This is Admiral Kethfer of the Zephyrian fleet," came a voice over the radio. Steve recognized the name. Kethfer was the same alien who had destroyed the medical ship. "Human vessel, you will leave this area immediately, or you will be destroyed." Steve smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "This is Captain Rogers of the UES Defender. I have a message for Admiral Kethfer." "Speak your message, human." "The message is this: you should not have killed our doctors." Steve pressed a button on his control panel. Small missiles shot out from his ship toward the Zephyrian vessels. The missiles did not carry explosives. They carried Dr. Kane's nanobots. The missiles hit the Zephyrian ships and broke apart. Clouds of tiny robots spread through the air systems of the alien vessels. The nanobots were so small that the Zephyrian filters could not stop them. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Zephyrian ships kept flying normally. Admiral Kethfer even laughed over the radio. "Is that the best you can do, human? Your weapons cannot even damage our shields?" But inside the Zephyrian ships, the nanobots were already working. They found Zephyrian skin cells in the air and followed them back to the aliens, who had breathed them out. Once they found a Zephyrian, the nano went to work. Admiral Kethfer was the first to feel something wrong. His throat started to hurt. Then his scales began to itch. He looked at his hands and saw that some of his scales were turning black. "Medical bay," he called over his ship's communication system. "I need a doctor." But the ship's doctor was having the same problem. So was every other Zephyrian on all 5 ships. Within 2 hours, the aliens knew they were dying. Their scales were falling off. Their eyes were changing color. Their bones were becoming soft and bending in ways that bones should not bend. The worst part was that they stayed awake through all of it. The nanobots made sure they could feel everything that was happening to them. Admiral Kethfer tried to send a message to other Zephyrian ships, but his communication system had stopped working. Dr. Santos's nanobots had gotten into the ship's computers and were taking them apart from the inside. "What have you done to us?" Kethfer screamed over the radio to Steve's ship. Steve answered calmly, "We've given you the same mercy you gave to our medical ship." One by one, the Zephyrian ships stopped moving. The aliens inside were all dead or dying. Some had tried to escape in smaller ships, but the nanobots had followed them. Steve's crew watched in silence as the enemy vessels drifted in space like floating tombs. They had won the battle without firing a single normal weapon. But none of them felt like celebrating. Lieutenant Foster was looking at her readings from the Zephyrian ships. "Captain, the nanobots have completely destroyed their life support systems. Even if some of the aliens are still alive, they won't be for long." "Good," Steve said, but his voice sounded strange. "Sir, I'm also detecting that some of the nanobots are still active. They're continuing to change the DNA of the dead aliens." Steve frowned. "What do you mean? The bodies are transforming into something else. Something that looks like it was designed to be a warning to other Zephirians." Steve felt a chill run down his back. The nanobots were not just killing the aliens. They were turning their bodies into horror shows that would terrify anyone who found them. That night, Steve could not sleep. He kept thinking about Admiral Kethfer and the other Zephirians. Yes, they had killed the medical ship. Yes, they deserved to be punished. But did they deserve to die like that? He thought about Dr. Kane and his team of scientists working in their underground laboratory. They were creating weapons that went beyond simple death. They were creating weapons designed to cause fear and horror. Steve realized that the war was changing him and his people. They were becoming something darker. Something that might be worse than their enemies. But he also remembered the doctors and nurses who had died on the Compassion. He remembered that the Zephirians had shown no mercy to people who were only trying to help others. Maybe, Steve thought, this was what war really was. Maybe there were no good choices left. Maybe the only choice was between becoming monsters or letting monsters win. The next morning, Steve sent his report to Earth. The new weapons had worked perfectly. The Zephyrian attack force had been completely destroyed. Titan Base was safe. But Steve did not mention the nightmares he was starting to have. He did not mention the way his crew looked at him differently now. He did not mention that he was starting to wonder if winning this war was worth what they were becoming. On Earth, Dr. Kane read Steve's report and smiled. The weapons had worked even better than he had hoped. The Zephyrians had suffered just like Lisa and her fellow doctors had suffered, but Kane's smile faded when he read the last line of Steve's report. Request permission to return to Earth for psychological evaluation of crew. Kane realized that the weapons were not just changing the aliens. They were changing the humans who used them too. The war was turning. Across the galaxy, Zephyrian fleets were running away when they heard that human ships were coming. The aliens had found the bodies from Admiral Kethfer's destroyed fleet, and the sight had filled them with terror. Word spread quickly through the Zephyrian Empire. The humans had weapons that could turn proud warriors into twisted, horrible things. Weapons that killed slowly and painfully. Weapons that left bodies as warnings for others to find. Captain Steve Rogers was in his quarters on the UES Defender when the new orders came. He had not slept well in weeks. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the Zephyrian ships drifting in space, with their crews dead inside. "Captain, we have new orders from Earth," said Lieutenant Emma Foster. She looked tired too. All of Steve's crew looked tired these days. "What do the orders say?" "We're to join a task force attacking the Zephyrian supply base at Kepler Station. Intelligence says there are 20 enemy ships there." Steve nodded. "How many ships in our task force?" "Just 3, sir. But we're all carrying Dr. Kane's weapons." 3 ships against 20. A year ago, that would have been suicide. Now it was just another mission. The new weapons had made human ships incredibly dangerous. On Earth, Dr. Marcus Kane was in his laboratory working on even deadlier creations. He had not left the underground facility in 2 months. He barely ate or slept. All he could think about was making better weapons to kill Zephyr. IANS. Dr. Maria Santos was worried about Marcus. "You need to rest," she told him. "You're pushing yourself too hard." Marcus looked up from his work. His eyes were red, and his hair was messy. "I can't rest. Not while there are still Zephyrians alive. Marcus, the war is almost over. our weapons, have broken their will to fight. Most of their fleets have retreated to their home systems. That's not enough, Marcus said. They killed Lisa. They killed 300 doctors and nurses. They need to pay for that. Dr. Alex Chen had been working on a new biological weapon. Marcus, I think we should talk about what we're doing here. What do you mean? Alex sat down next to Marcus. I've been studying the reports from our weapons. The nanobots and diseases are working too well. Some of them are starting to mutate. Mutate how? They're becoming more aggressive, more deadly. The latest batch we sent out killed the Zephyrians in 2 hours instead of 6. Marcus smiled. That's good. I want them to die faster. No, Marcus, it's not good. If these weapons keep mutating, they might become dangerous to other species too. Maybe even to us. Dr. Kevin Walsh looked up from his computer. Alex is right. My AI programs are also evolving. They're getting smarter than I programmed them to be. Yesterday, one of the drone swarms attacked a Zephyrian civilian transport. Without orders. Civilians? Marcus asked. Yes. The AI decided that all Zephyrians were enemies, not just their military. It killed 300 civilian aliens, including children. For a moment, Marcus felt something that might have been doubt, but then he remembered Lisa dying in the explosion of the medical ship. Good, he said. Maybe now they'll know how it feels to lose innocent people. Maria stepped back from Marcus. You're scaring me. This isn't the man Lisa cared about. Lisa is dead because I wasn't scary enough before. If I had made these weapons 2 years ago, she would still be alive. At Kepler Station, the battle was about to begin. Steve's task force had arrived and found the Zephyrian supply base just as intelligence had said. 20 enemy ships were docked at the station, loading supplies for their retreating fleets. Captain, the Zephyrians are trying to surrender, reported Lieutenant Foster. Steve looked at his screen. The alien ships had lowered their shields and stopped their engines. A message was coming from the station commander. Human vessels. This is Commander Vextar of Kepler Station. We surrender. We are not military ships. We are supply vessels with civilian crews. Steve hesitated. His orders were to destroy the base and all ships there. But these aliens were trying to surrender. Sir, Foster asked, what are your orders? Steve thought about the nanobots in his weapons bay. He thought about what they would do to the Zephyrians on those ships. He thought about Admiral Kethfer and how he had died. Prepare the nanobots, Steve said quietly. But sir, they're surrendering. They didn't let our medical ships surrender. The nanobots were released. Steve watched as they spread through the enemy ships. He watched as the Zephyrian supply vessels became floating tombs. He tried not to think about the fact that many of the aliens dying were not soldiers. After the battle, Steve's crew was very quiet. Nobody talked about their victory. Nobody celebrated. They just did their jobs and tried not to think about what they had done that night. Steve received a message that changed everything. Intelligence had captured a Zephyrian admiral alive. The alien was being brought to Earth for questioning. The captured alien was Admiral Kethfer himself. The same Zephyrian who had destroyed the medical ship was now a prisoner. He had been found, floating in space in an escape pod after his flagship was destroyed. Marcus Kane personally requested to question the alien. General Phillips was not sure it was a good idea, but she agreed. She thought that maybe talking to the alien who killed Lisa would give Marcus some closure. Kethfer was brought to Marcus's laboratory in chains. The alien was old and scarred from many battles. Even as a prisoner, he looked proud and dangerous. So, you are the human who makes the terrible weapons, Kethfer said in broken English. Marcus stared at the alien. This was the creature who had given the order to destroy the Compassion. This was the one who had killed Lisa. Double quotes, yes, Marcus said. I am the one who makes the weapons that are killing your people. Why do you make them suffer so much? Why not just kill cleanly? Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. Because you didn't kill our people cleanly. You destroyed a medical ship full of doctors who were trying to save lives. Kethfer looked confused. Medical ship? You mean the disease vessel? It was not a disease vessel. It was carrying vaccines to sick people on New Haven. The alien's eyes got wider. Vaccines, medicine to cure disease. Yes, 300 doctors and nurses died because of you. Kethfer was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke very softly. I thought. Our intelligence said the ship was carrying biological weapons. Disease bombs to use against our colonies. Marcus felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. What? Our spies said humans were sending disease weapons to attack civilian populations. I thought I was protecting my people from a plague ship. It was a medical ship. It had red crosses painted on its sides. It was protected by galactic law. Kethfer looked sick. Red crosses. But our briefing said those were fake markings. We were told humans were disguising weapon ships as medical vessels. Marcus stared at the alien. Slowly, he realized what had happened. Someone had lied to Kethfer. Someone had told him that the medical ship was really a weapon. Who told you this? Marcus asked. High Command. They said humans could not be trusted. They said you would use any trick to spread disease among our people. Marcus felt the world spinning around him. He had spent months creating horrible weapons to get revenge on aliens who thought they were protecting themselves. He had turned himself into a monster to fight other monsters, only to discover that maybe they were not really monsters after all. Admiral, Marcus said slowly, if you had known it was really a medical ship, would you have attacked it? Kethfer looked Marcus in the eyes. Never. In 40 years of war, I have never attacked healers. It is against everything I believe. Marcus left the room and walked to his office. He sat down and looked at the picture of Lisa on his desk. She was smiling in the picture, wearing her white doctor's coat. I'm sorry, Lisa, he whispered. I became exactly what you didn't want me to become, and it was all for nothing. The next day, Marcus called his team together. We need to stop, he told them. Stop what? Asked Alex. All of it. The weapons, the research, everything. This war needs to end. But we're winning, said Kevin. We're not winning. We're just creating more horror. And I think we're fighting the wrong enemy. Marcus told them what he had learned from Kethfer. His team was as shocked as he was. So what do we do now? Asked Maria. Marcus looked at the weapons they had created. Weapons that had killed thousands of aliens who might have been just as confused and scared as the humans were. We find a way to fix this, he said, before it's too late. But Marcus was not sure it was possible to fix what they had done. The weapons were out there, killing and changing things. The war had changed everyone, humans and aliens alike. He thought about Lisa and what she would want him to do. She would want him to find a way to stop the killing. She would want him to use his genius to heal instead of harm. But first, he had to figure out who had lied to both sides and started this terrible war. And he had to do it before his own weapons destroyed everything he was trying to protect. Dr. Marcus. Kane stood in front of the main computer in his laboratory. On the screen were the locations of all his weapons that were still active in space, nanobots that were still killing, AI programs that were still learning to be better at destruction, diseases that were still spreading through alien ships. Are you sure about this? Asked Dr. Maria Santos. Marcus nodded. Send the shutdown command to all weapons systems. Destroy the samples. Delete the research files. Marcus, these weapons won the war for us, said Dr. Kevin Walsh. The Zephyrians have surrendered. Their whole empire is asking for peace. I know, but the price was too high. Marcus had spent 2 weeks investigating who had lied to both humans and Zephyrians about the medical ship. What he found made him sick. A group of weapons manufacturers had given false information to both sides. They wanted a long war because wars made them rich. The truth was simple and horrible. The Compassion really was a medical ship. Admiral Kethfer really thought he was stopping a disease weapon, and Marcus had created monsters to fight other people who were just trying to protect their families. The nanobots are shutting down, reported Alex, but some of them have been active for so long that they've changed. I'm not sure we can stop all of them. Marcus watched as his weapons died one by one across the galaxy. It felt good to see them go, but he knew the damage was already done. Thousands of aliens were dead. His own people had been changed by using such terrible weapons. Captain Steve Rogers was on his way back to Earth. His crew had been relieved of duty and ordered to report for psychological treatment. Many of them were having nightmares about the aliens they had killed. Lieutenant Emma Foster sat next to Steve on the bridge of their ship. Captain, do you think we did the right thing? Steve looked out at the stars. I don't know, Emma. We won the war. We saved human colonies from attack. But the cost was our souls, Emma said quietly. Steve nodded. He had read the reports about Admiral Kethfer and the lies that started the war. He knew now that many of the aliens they killed were just soldiers following orders, trying to protect their own people. When we get back to Earth, I'm going to resign from the military, Steve said. What will you do? I don't know. Maybe try to find a way to make up for what we've done. On the Zephyrian homeworld, the news of the human weapon shutdown was received with relief and confusion. The Zephyrian government had been preparing to surrender completely. They thought the humans would demand terrible punishments for the destruction of the medical ship. Instead, they received a message from Earth's government. Humans wanted peace. They wanted to share the truth about who had lied to both sides. They wanted to work together to make sure nothing like this war ever happened again. Marcus was packing his belongings when General Phillips came to see him. The President wants to offer you any job you want, she said. Head of Medical Research, Chief Science Advisor, anything. Marcus shook his head. I'm done with government work. What are you going to do? Marcus picked up the picture of Lisa from his desk. I'm going to try to remember what she taught me, that the point of being smart is to help people, not hurt them. Marcus, you helped end the war. I helped make the war worse than it needed to be. I turned our soldiers into people who have nightmares. I created weapons that killed aliens who were just trying to protect their families. General Phillips was quiet for a moment. Where will you go? There's a small medical college on Luna Colony. They need someone to teach basic medicine to students who want to work in space. I think Lisa would like that. Marcus left Earth quietly. He did not want a ceremony or awards. He just wanted to disappear and try to do some good with what was left of his life. The medical college on Luna was small and simple. The students were young people who wanted to be doctors and nurses in space colonies. They reminded Marcus of Lisa when she was young, excited about helping people and making the universe a better place. Marcus used a false name and told no one about his past. He taught classes on basic medicine and surgery. He helped students learn how to treat injuries and diseases that happened in space. Sometimes, late at night, Marcus would look at the picture of Lisa that he kept on his desk in his small office. I'm trying to do better, he would tell the picture. I'm trying to be the person you wanted me to be. The war officially ended 6 months after Marcus left Earth. The peace treaty was signed by both humans and Zephyrians. Both sides agreed to share information to prevent future misunderstandings. Both sides agreed never to attack medical ships. Again, Captain Steve Rogers had retired from the military and was now working with refugee organizations. He helped aliens and humans who had been hurt by the war. It was his way of trying to make up for the things he had done. Dr. Alex Chen had destroyed all of his biological weapon research and was now working on cures for diseases. Dr. Maria Santos was using her nanobots to repair damage instead of causing it. Dr. Kevin Walsh was teaching his AI programs to help with medical research instead of warfare. They all knew they could never completely make up for what they had done. But they were trying. One day, Marcus received a message at the medical college. It was from a group of Zephyrian doctors who wanted to study human medicine. They had heard about Earth's advanced medical techniques and wanted to learn. Marcus thought about it for a long time. Then he wrote back and invited them to come study at the college. When the Zephyrian doctors arrived, Marcus was nervous. These were the first aliens he had seen since the war ended. He wondered if they knew who he really was. He wondered if they would hate him if they found out. The lead Zephyrian doctor was a female named Dr. Sakara. She was young and enthusiastic, just like Marcus's human students. "Professor Kane," she said in careful English, "we are very excited to learn from you." Marcus smiled. It was the first real smile he had felt in a long time. "Welcome to Luna Medical College. Let's see what we can learn from each other." As the weeks passed, Marcus found that he enjoyed teaching the Zephyrian students. They were smart and caring, just like the human students. They asked good questions and worked hard to help people. One day, Dr. Sakara stayed after class to talk to Marcus. "Professor, may I ask you something?" "Of course." "During the war, my brother was killed by human weapons. Terrible weapons that caused great suffering. I hated humans for a long time." Marcus felt his heart stop. "I'm sorry for your loss, but now I see that humans are not monsters. You are teachers and healers just like us. I think maybe the war made everyone a little crazy." Marcus nodded. "War does terrible things to people. It makes good people do bad things. Yes, but the war is over now. Now we can choose to heal instead of hurt." That night, Marcus looked at Lisa's picture for the last time before putting it away in a drawer. "I think I understand now," he said to the empty room. "You didn't want me to stop being a genius. You wanted me to be a genius who chose to heal instead of harm." Marcus never told anyone his real name or what he had done during the war, but he spent the rest of his life teaching young doctors and nurses, both human and alien, how to save lives. Sometimes former soldiers would come too. The college for medical treatment. Marcus would recognize the look in their eyes, the same haunted look that Captain Rogers and his crew had, the look of people who had done terrible things for good reasons. Marcus would treat these soldiers carefully and kindly. He never judged them, because he knew that he had been just like them. He had been someone who chose to do evil in order to fight evil. The war had taught Marcus that there were no perfect choices in life. Sometimes good people had to do bad things, but the important part was what you chose to do afterward. Marcus chose to heal. He chose to teach. He chose to help young people become the kind of doctors and nurses that Lisa had been, and in a storage facility on Earth, locked away behind many security doors, were the last samples of Marcus's weapons. They were kept as a reminder and a warning, a reminder of what humans could become when they were angry enough, a warning of what could happen if they ever forgot the difference between justice and revenge. The weapons were still there, waiting, just in case humanity ever needed to become monsters again. But Marcus hoped they would never be used. He hoped that future generations would be smarter than he had been. He hoped they would choose to heal instead of harm. Every morning when Marcus woke up, he made the same choice Lisa had wanted him to make. He chose to use his genius to save lives instead of taking them. It was a choice he had to make every day for the rest of his life, and every day he chose correctly.